The Honourable Jeff Gallop, former Premier of Western Australia, distinguished guests, conference delegates and ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the keynote speaker session of the War, Culture and Democracy Conference. Our session is also part of the international guest lecture series of the Research Institute for Humanities and Social Sciences. My name is Dr. David Pritchard. As the conference convener, I am delighted that so many have turned up for today's lectures. Please accept my apologies for the delay in getting our session underway. Currently, Australia is building democracies far and wide. Our defence forces remain in Iraq and Afghanistan to support nascent democratic institutions. They have been deployed recently to East Timor and the Solomon Islands to shore up democracies on the point of internal collapse. Our nation has undertaken these truly Herculean burdens because we think democracy is a good thing. We also have a strategic justification. Democratic regimes in the Middle East and our region are considered important for our national security. Democracies supposedly encourage peaceful coexistence between nation states and guarantee a country does not become a haven for terrorists. Despite these apparently sound reasons for democracy building, our leaders haggle about its details. This too is not without explanation. Our multiple military deployments are exposing our young soldiers to the risk of death, personal injury or post-traumatic stress. They are also costing us, taxpayers, a great deal of money. At the same time, our governments have introduced tough counter-terrorism legislation and, in the name of national security, are restricting public scrutiny of our security agencies and defence forces. In addition, Australian leaders remain silent as our allies in the war on terror walk away from long-standing bodies of international law, such as the Geneva Convention. Civil libertarians and legal experts have expressed grave concerns about these changes. How should we, as Australians, make sense of these new developments and the acrimonious debate surrounding them? A way to do so, we contend, lies in the lessons of history. The track records of past democracies can help us work out whether our democracy is going in the right direction. Professor Josiah Ober, our first keynote speaker this afternoon, concentrates on the historical case study of classical Athens. His paper explores how a democracy's organisation of knowledge impacts on its military success. By contrast, our second keynote speaker, Professor John Keane, works with a longer historical time frame. His paper will consider the relationship of the rhetoric and practices of democracy with state-sponsored violence from antiquity to the present. With great pleasure, I now introduce Professor Josiah Ober. Professor Josiah Ober currently holds joint appointments in the Department of Classics and the University Centre for Human Values at Princeton University. In a few months' time, he takes up the Constantine Mitsotakis Professorship, a newly endowed chair in the Departments of Classics and Political Science at Stanford University. His BA is from the University of Minnesota, 1975, and his PhD from the University of Michigan, 1980. He has been awarded fellowships by numerous institutions, including the Sorbonne, Cambridge University, the Guggenheim Foundation, and the National Endowment of the Humanities. Professor Ober is widely recognised for his paradigm-shifting research on Athenian democracy and its popular culture, and for his pioneering integration of social science models into humanities-based research. His 10 books include Mass and Elite in Democratic Athens, Rhetoric, Ideology, and the Power of the People, Princeton, 1989, The Athenian Revolution, Essays on Ancient Greek Democracy and Political Theory, Princeton, 1996, Political Dissent in Democratic Athens, Intellectual Critics of Popular Rule, Princeton, 1998, and Athenian Legacies, Essays on the Politics of Going On Together, Princeton, 2005. Professor Ober is currently finalising a book entitled Knowledge in Action in Democratic Athens, on the topic of how and why democracy promoted material prosperity and power in classical Athens. It is meant to be the third instalment of a trilogy that began with Mass and Elite in democratic Athens and continued with Political Dissent in democratic Athens. Knowledge in Action in democratic Athens employs a variety of social science approaches, e.g. statistical regressions, network theory, rational actor theory, and organisation theory, along with close readings of historical and philosophical texts and inscriptions. It argues that the historical record of Athenian performance can be best explained as a result of successfully addressing endemic collective action dilemmas through cultural and institutional processes for organising useful knowledge. The title of his paper today is Athenian Military Proficiency in the Archidamian War, Democracy and the Organisation of Knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome as warmly as possible Professor Josiah Ober.